You look at the edge of your hand and see three small lines, or perhaps a deep fork splitting one of the creases. The immediate thought is usually the same. Is this a sign I'm headed for a breakup? Many of us grew up with a very specific image of palmistry as a rigid, deterministic timeline that predicts exact wedding dates and unavoidable divorces. This fatalistic view is actually rejected by traditional Vedic texts and early chirological studies. They suggest these lines aren't a script for the future, but a map of the present. Treating your palm like a literal crystal ball tends to create more confusion than it resolves. We need a different way to categorize markers of emotional style. Instead of a divorce curse, we look for signs of communication gaps. To use this tool effectively, you have to trade the hope of a guaranteed future for a specific understanding of your own emotional tendencies. Understanding how you process relationships allows you to make more deliberate choices rather than waiting for an outcome you feel you can't control. To find these indicators, look at this specific zone on the outer edge of the palm, just below the little finger. Traditionally called the lines of affection, these are what most people mistake for marriage lines. The quantity and length of these creases indicate your capacity for significant, life-shaping bonds. They aren't counting legal certificates. If you have multiple lines in this area, it simply suggests you are likely to experience several deep, long-term emotional connections throughout your life. Using these lines to predict a legal wedding often leads to frustration when the count doesn't match your history. However, they are a consistent way to gauge your lifelong emotional bandwidth. The way you express that bandwidth is found in the heart line. Tracing where this line ends provides a baseline for your attachment style. A line that curves up toward the index finger, the Jupiter area, points toward an idealistic and devoted approach to love. This trajectory often results in great warmth, but it carries a specific trade-off. You may find it difficult to cope if a partner fails to meet your high expectations. Other paths show different priorities. A line ending under the middle finger is often more self-oriented and passionate, while a straight line suggests a more rational, logical way of processing affection. This chart plots how those different trajectories dictate behavior. The curved line sits in the highly expressive quadrant, while the straight line falls into the more pragmatic, reserved area. No single path is superior to another. They simply highlight the communication strategies and partner types you are most naturally compatible with. We also have to look for disruptions, like a fork at the end of a line, or small oval shapes known as islands. In popular palmistry, these are almost always interpreted as an inescapable sign of a failed relationship. A more grounded view sees these as periods of ambiguity or differing opinions. A fork, for instance, often represents a time when external pressures or family interests create friction in the bond. If you view a fork as a sign of inevitable failure, you lose the opportunity to address the specific conflict it represents. Seeing it as a period of friction allows you to proactively adjust how you communicate before the bond is strained. Analyzing a single crease or a solitary fork in total isolation will almost always lead to a misunderstanding of the bigger picture. The value of this system is in how the parts work together, combining the trajectory of the heart line with the capacity shown in the lines of affection. Long-term connection isn't something that is randomly fated by the physical marks on your skin. When two people recognize how their emotional styles differ, they can begin to consciously bridge those gaps instead of waiting for their circumstances to change. To determine if this is the right tool for you, check this list. It's an appropriate fit if you are looking for a way to describe why you and a partner process love differently. For example, if one of you is more logical while the other is more idealistic. It is an inappropriate fit if you are feeling deeply insecure and are looking for a physical mark on your hand to justify your fear that a relationship will end. If you want a framework to discuss your differences, palmistry is a useful starting point. If you want a guarantee that you'll never face heartbreak, no line on your hand can provide that.